females. I'm transgender, which means I just sense both sexes, basically. My own as a female and also male. So it's sensing both. Transsex people basically misinterpret that and conclude that that means that you're really the opposite sex, completely different ontologically and conceptually. It's a complete fallacy, actually, and it's not possible in physical reality, biological reality, nor is it logical. In the same way that one does not equal zero, male is not female. And it's clearly distinct from gender, transsex, in the general recommendation number 32 that the UN basically introduces gender equality into law. Anyway, point being, I'm no more to blame for this bullshit than as a transgender person, I'm no more to blame for this than being a woman. Because men basically also misinterpret the definition of woman. The 1951 definition of woman that was, I guess, determined at the Geneva Convention. Basically, they negate biological sex from the definition of woman. So then they come up with gender. So that's basically what gender is basically the negation of biological reality and biological sex. So fuck off. And stop blaming transgender, stop blaming that identity experience basically for somebody that lies. Because, truth is truth. And if somebody chooses to lie about that, it's not the truth's fault. Do you understand? So it's a lot of people are blamed. Like Michael Shithead Michael there blamed me for it basically, for my experience of sensing both sexes. Which, by the way, I've been myself for like over 30 years, so it's not something that goes away or anything for me. It's consistent and it's just part of who I am, I guess. I never really thought about it. I just like realized that I just continue with my life because it's not a big deal to me. Like, it doesn't have any real effect on my life. I mean, it can, and even if I were to have developed a beard that I noticed was missing when I was young, I'd still sort of not really be satisfied because I still sense my female nature, right? So it's just a duality that I've learned to accept about myself for the last 30 years or so. Point being, Michael blamed me, my transgender experience of sensing both sexes, for being the reason why women are, basically undergoing huge unnecessary surgeries, mastectomies and whatnot. Blaming me for that is how Jordan Peterson and Shapiro and all those guys, Tate, basically the three the three Abrahamic religion amigos, right? How they blame feminists, right, for incels. How they blame women for everything. When feminism has traditionally just been analysis of patriarchy and gender roles, which men also subscribe to, right? And perpetuate by subjugating females, which Jordan Peterson does. Basically, men are male, right? Male order, and women get the feminine, right? We don't get female, we get feminine right off the bat. So stereotypically, right, we're lesser than, right? He frames us immediately, right, as a feminine, and the males are male. Feminine, there's no female, right? Chaos. It's feminine. You understand? So immediately it's obvious. Point being, I am not to blame for the transsex eventual erosion, right? The gender erosion into transgender. It's been absorbed into the transsex, or gender, they called it, identity, right? In the same way that, homosexuality and all of that has been. And now basically as a transgressionist identity, the gender, or transex. Same thing for pedos, right? It's the same idea, right? These transex men have a right to violate females, transgress females, because their identity is intrinsically, it's inherently, I should say, it's inherently instrumental, and it inherently violates females, right? It was introduced in the gender, right, the general recommendation about gender, through the AGP male vehicle, or quote unquote AGP, right, the male vehicle. So all of that basically supports this idea that instrumentally, right, they have a right to activity, they have a right to violate females into female spaces, because being is doing for them. They've conflated, right? They've negated, not only have they negated biological sex, but they've negated the psychological, right, self-reflection, the sense of self, basically, has also been negated. So you've got this shit basically being justified because, it literally is their identity, right? They act, therefore they are. Which, we think, therefore right? We act, therefore. So in that way, men have a right to violate females because, that's who they are, their identity. So pedos have a right to violate children because that authenticates, validates their identity, right? And this sort of idea of inclusion above all, rather than the protecting society from harm, which I believe is the fundamental purpose of justice system, is to protect from harm and to maintain, healthy society. And one of the major distinctions as well is that, being a mother, I've had children, I've had a boy, I've had a child. Not all harm, not all pain is harmful. Not all pain, not all hurt is harmful. A lot, pain can be a signal. It's beneficial. We recognize its purpose sometimes, right? It's got a point. That split second where we don't know our instinct, we get afraid. But generally speaking, not all hurt is harmful. Not all discomfort is harmful. Not giving pedos the opportunity, right? Denying that. They call that discomfort, but that is protection, actually, from children. It actually prevents harm. So in that same way, these men lie about my identity, my experience being transgender, to sensing a dude. It's not discomfort for me. It doesn't, I still love being female very much, actually. So there's no discomfort there. There's no sense of suffering at all. And then they take that identity and they exploit it. They exploit who I am, and it's a thousands of years, a very ancient identity. A lot of individuals, a lot of cultures have acknowledged, the two-spirit identity of sensing both male and female. It's not the denial of biological sex or the denial of human nature or the denial of nature, right? It's basically just a duality of reality, So these men that take that sacred experience and lie about it to justify their sickness is wrong, and that's what happens. So fuck you, Michael, for saying that, me sensing being a male is why women go out and deny their femininity, because it's not at all the same thing. So fuck you for blaming transgender people for that, and fuck you for blaming women for incels, right, Shapiro? There's a literally flat out and say that incels is a reaction to feminism, and so you're totally wrong. And there's a distinction in time, space, a priori, a posteriori. Things transpire over time. Things have motivations. We have an inner life, inner thought, and self-reflection, and I honor that. And you're not gonna, people are, you can lie about it, but I'm gonna fucking point it out, and I'm gonna call you on it. And there's no way in hell that you're gonna try to, I'm not gonna accept any of your bullshit you try to fucking dump on me, because it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm not, it's not acceptable. It's not logical. There's no room for it, you know? Sensing both. Life is a reflection, relationships, you know, this idea of dominating one over the other to silence, negate the other, that's, I mean, if we're going to apply that, it should be applied to things that harm. And we should use that as a tool, not as a way to pathologize truth, really, and reality, because healthy people use that. And we honor that, and to determine, you know, we over time, you know, humanity has amassed such a vast body of knowledge, right? And gender basically, literally, literally expects people to deny that, choose to, you know, choose not to discriminate, which technically discrimination, all that is literally discernment, right? It's discrimination against that we want to avoid. We need discrimination. We need to discriminate between in order to distinguish one from other, in order to know what the fuck's going on. And I don't know. Well, I do. But right now, my point being, started off the second little video tonight. It's basically to set that straight, and transgender identity of sensing both sexes, you know, one, and then of course, you know, the trans identity to even exist, you know, it needs the other, right? It needs one to distinguish from the other. So gender basically, it's a severing of source, you know, it's a severing of, you know, the self from self, you know, it's the next, you know, it's progressive objectification, right? Where you know, industrialization, even the monetary system, right? Even jobs, right? Where we, you know, even patriarchy, right? The roles, the gender roles, it's always been, you know, for a job, for an activity, for action. Well, this has gone one step further, and it's dissolved basically the distinction between male and female, as well as objectifying like the self, and basically human identity itself has been objectified and instrumentalized. So I don't like it, obviously, for many reasons, and I shouldn't like it. We're not supposed to like it. And yeah, basically it started off like that, and we're intrinsic value of all human beings. You know, we do, you know, we as objective, we're objectives as well. We're objects to each other, you know, in this external world, you know, anything outside of ourselves personally, you know, but I believe and I know that we're all of intrinsic value within every human being. So gender basically invites people to deny that, to invalidate that, to basically, you know, everything is technically, right, a delusion until it's proven, which is ridiculous, because some things you just can't prove due to natural law. We're not telepathic, right? There are some things that we just cannot know. I cannot know what you think. I can trust that what you tell me is true, you know, and there's a difference there. And I believe gender is pro-deception, you know, and we basically need to trust each other, and we need to be able to be honest, and that's what humanity depends on for existence, basically. So this is our very survival, not only within ourselves, you know, but amongst each other, relationships with each other. So it's relational. So yeah, Michael can just shut the fuck up, because he's an asshole full of shit, and I just don't believe it. And he's talking about how I'm trying to project and all this shit onto him. It's like, dude, I'm just telling you like it is, you know, telling you what I am, who I am. And he's trying to tell me what I am this whole time. So a hypocrite, and it's evident. And being transgender, right, it's an intrinsic sex identity in a way, like male and female is. We don't need anything, just experiencing it, you know, satisfies the conditions of existence. You know, transsex identity, it's got its whole set of expectations, right? It's as manufactured identity, right, using the ingredients of stereotypes and other things where we don't necessarily need to do. We don't need that. I don't know, I'm just really tired. But Yeah, and it just exploits things that are true, that don't need rights for rights. You know, they exploit humanity basically. So, uh, like corporations, whatnot, were human beings or I guess persons under the law before women were. Well, there's no difference. There's nothing stopping an AI from being a person if you take away the biological reality, right? That's another way that genders, I believe, could be applied in the future as well. I mean, if a man doesn't have to be biological female to be a woman, an AI can, I guess, to rephrase that technically, because I wasn't really, to be logically, I should rephrase this. For a man to be a human, or pardon me, for a man to be a female person, for a man to be a female person, they don't need to be biologically female. Well, for an AI to be a person, right? Genderless, because in law now it's sex erasure, so we don't even need to be a sex generally. They don't need to have biological sex to be a person either. So, in a way, AI is technically equivalent of a person in the same way that a transsex person is a human person under the law. Um, I'm not sure if that. I know that does make sense. I'm just not sure if I was absolutely 100% clear. But you're free to comment. You're free to ask me questions. I will answer as honestly as possible, within reason. Of course, I'm not. I do reserve the right, to some privacy. But basically, yeah, I just think I know we're better than this. So, um, yeah, it's self-evident, and I just, I don't know. I just know for a fact that this patriarchy is just abusive men. They're miserable. So it's not even like anybody's happy. Nobody's. It's just harmful for humanity. It's just misogynist terrorism isn't good for anybody. Terrorism in general isn't good for everybody or anybody. So, and of course, the general recommendation is introduced through the refugee arena as well. So there's a migration issue as well, and citizenship, personhood. I don't know. I just wanted to tell you. I just wanted to share that aspect of it. So no, my identity, the truth is never to blame for people lying about it. Those are human beings that are responsible for their own decision to lie about something, because all there is really truth. There's no opposite of a lie. A lie is nothing, so there's nothing to be opposite of a lie. But there is definitely the opposite of truth, because the truth is, right? So events exist. So I don't know. Transsex men, transsex women. I mean, they identify as they want, but to honor or to, I guess, entitle them to any rights beyond that, to use them to as a tool to erase sex and law in order to potentially advance, personhood for AI. I have no idea. There's a lot of different reasons. Potentially social control. I'm not sure. Of course, Kamala herself even said like decreasing the population. Like we don't need to do any of that. I don't believe. I think we've got enough resources. We just need to organize better. I don't believe anybody needs to die unnecessarily. And I know as well as these gender surgeries and whatnot, a lot of people actually perish, and it isn't. It's a lifetime of suffering. So, um, people talk a lot about how it heterosexualizes people, right? And gay people just, well, they'll be women, and then they'll be all heteros. Like they have no sex lives after at all. Like they're just destroyed as for the activity, and it's just things. Just human beings, we just don't work that way. There are certain parameters that we have to respect because we're born into this natural world and natural law. And it's a blessing to be able to discern the difference. It's all this human knowledge is a real gift, and to intentionally decide to deny that, ignore that, is just it's a crime. It's a crime, and it's wrong. So I don't know. It's kind of late, and I'm just trying to be a little bit quiet for the neighbors, of course. But yeah, I'm gonna go now. So I hope you have a really good day or whatever, evening, wherever you are. And I don't know, just you can comment if you want, ask me questions or anything. But yeah, I might not always be angry all the time, but when I'm angry, it's justified. And I don't know, it's just a part of the human experience. But some things are just true, some things are just false. Anyway, take care. Thanks.